Facing challenges and overcoming setbacks is part of doing business. Whether you have the expertise to survive them or not could mean the difference between success or failure. Welcome to We Are Women, featuring revealing conversations that provide invaluable insights into the success secrets of female masterminds. A must listen for every entrepreneurial woman. Now here's your host, Janeen Vosper.
Hi, it's Janeen Vosper here, and welcome to this episode of the We Are Women podcast. Today, I have with me Adrienne Frances. Now, we're just joking around. Adrienne sent me her bio. It's the shortest bio I've ever read on this show, which the listeners may appreciate because we're going to learn a lot more about Adrienne as we go on. So Adrienne Frances is the owner of Vitamin Bead and retail coach for Adrienne Frances. She's been in business for 26 years and she has seen many changes in business. And so that, as you see, we're going to find out so much more about Adrienne as we go along. Welcome, Adrienne, on this beautiful morning.
Thank you, Janeen. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, I do believe as we converse, you'll find so much more about me, which is probably going to be in a more interesting way than just reading my bio.
All right, I'm going to ask you straight from the beginning now. Tell me about Adrienne Frances. I mean, it's one thing to be in business for 26 years, which is just quite incredible, you know, the way businesses are, especially as a coach and a consultant type of role, which is extremely, you know, noteworthy that you have. And I imagine you've seen, you know, so much change in that retail during that period of time. But for you, what got you in it? How have you been able to stay in doing what you're doing for so long, and what your learnings and things have been over those 26 years? So.
Yes, well, look, when Janeen, when we first started with markets, trade fairs, and festivals, it used to just be the click-clack machine. You know, remember the Visa MasterCard? Would you like to pay by credit card? Click, clack, click, clack.
And everyone had a copy of everyone else's credit card details when we did it.
Yeah, there was like a 3 copy, and in the Monday mornings, you used to have to get all your little slips and put them in a little plastic envelope and take them to your bank, and that's how the credit card system worked. So this is before internet, before mobile phones, before FPOS. And where business was all about telling your story. You know, of course, there was your traditional methods of marketing, but I never really got caught up in that because it was more about meeting those people, putting myself in front of people's paths, with like markets, for instance, in Sydney, Glebe and Bondi, and then really talking to people and bringing telling them about what we had. So I started business off with antique beads, antique trade beads, old tribal jewelry, which I just still have a passion for. And we picked that up as we were traveling. So with our travels, we're like, we'd like to do some business, but what can we take with us? Beads and jewelry and tribal stuff was just fitted into that category, what we needed perfectly. So we came to Australia with beads, and that was before all the big jewelry stores, all the chain stores came out, Pandora, and the cheaper lines as well. So beads were just really new on the scene, and we really had a captive audience, which was great. And storytelling of those beads and where they came from and the history of them was what people fell in love with, which I find it was really cool. Yeah.
And yes, I've other than you're in Sydney, I think I would have been one of the best customers for you with beads. I've got so many beads, things I've bought over the years, and they're getting a little bit back in fashion again now, because they sort of went out for a while, but they're now getting back in fashion. I'm pulling them out, wearing them again. So tell me the story about the beads that you had. They came from different countries, I'm assuming? And
yes, well, the beads that we began with were from African trade beads, and we found them in all places of Taos, New Mexico. So I had gone to the US with my husband we spent 12 months driving all the way around the US. This is actually another interesting part. We got into San Francisco, and I already had a passion of beads. We bought a bead directory because this is before the internet, okay?
A bead directory. That is very cool.
Of the USA. So we drove all the way up to Portland, Oregon, all the way down through the Four Corners and all the way across to Florida. So every city that we'd drive into, I would look in the bead directory. Is there a bead shop here? Yes, there is. Let's go and have a look at it. So I was doing my bead research, how bead shops were set up, and I researched into how they did it. And like I would go into a bead shop, and I always found the bead shops that had something with them were more attractive for me. So not just jars and jars of beads. It was like beads, jewelry made up, and then like a little exotic range of clothing, to make it really like boutique-y and niche. It was really cute. So I always, coming back to Australia, I always had that passion of, okay, we have beads, but you also have something with them. Back to the story where we got the beads from, we were in Taos, New Mexico. There were all these African bead traders at a market one Sunday morning. We just went, oh my goodness, this is amazing. So we invested the money that we'd made in America. We made a little bit of money, and we ended up coming back to Australia with 2 suitcases full of beads. So that's how we started our bead business. 2 suitcases full of beads, and that was it.
That is so cool. It's really, really quite unique. And it's, for anyone even starting in a business now, that's still something that's really relevant, really you could just do that because we have the markets, and now because you can buy things online. But it's the story, African bead sellers in New Mexico. It's
It's
really
like, who would have thought? Yeah. So we had beautiful African trade beads, and then we traveled to Nepal, and we got amazing Nepalese wedding beads. Oh, and then the mountain coral beads. I've got this sort of, that's like my brand colors. I love coral, turquoise, and silver together. It's like that classic Nepalese sort of Tibetan style of jewelry. And we chose beads because we love to travel. So we wanted to incorporate business and travel together, and that's how Vitamin Bead came off the ground. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's very cool. And what a great way to do that, to be able to get around to different places and have a lovely tax deduction as you do that while you're collecting beads. But that makes it really unique. I think that would be fun, not business, Adrienne. I think that would be a really fun thing to do when you've got a passion for something, is to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was really, really good. And it's interesting because now I still, in Vitamin Bead, like Vitamin Bead, we, registered that business name like 1995. So, a long time ago. And we still make jewelry in Vitamin Bead now, and people come in and go, you're so clever, threading beads. And I'm like, yeah, it is. It's really good. Would you like to know how? Oh, I don't know how. So, yeah, we teach people how to make jewelry in Vitamin Bead still too. Yeah,
excellent. I went and did a free morning thing one time, half a day, on how to do the beads and make the jewelry, and I found it very therapeutic to be able to sit there and do it and get out of your head and just do something a little bit different. It was wonderful. And just off track, you saying that having the shop that had a few different things in it. I was in Tenterfield a while ago, and there was one shop, it was the hairdressers, but they also had clothes, and they had handbags, and then they had some cowboy things as well, and some ornaments at the hairdressers. You walked past and went, no, there's more things in there. And they were really eclectic. They were an unusual range of one-offs in this store. It was very unique, and it got people into the hairdressers also.
That's right. And also, as you're sitting there having your, waiting for whatever you've got, your foils to be done also, you can go and have a browse. You never know what you're going to find, which is, I think it's great.
Yeah. So yours is clothing now, isn't it? That's what you're doing.
Yes, we've really branched out into clothing. We have a lot of jewelry, homewares. We do have a few knickknacks and homewares, but as I can't travel at the moment, I'm actually a little bit limited to what I can have in my store, because predominantly with Vitamin Bead, we have things that we travel and pick up ourselves, simply to keep that point of difference from other boutiques. We don't want to have everything else that other people have. Otherwise, you lose your point of difference on that level. Yeah.
And it hasn't always been easy, though, has it? It just sounds something like fun, and as we're talking about it now,
that's
but
right, yeah.
Retail is not easy.
No, it's not easy. It's not easy. It's been interesting, and then that's where the social media factor came in for me. 3 years ago, I started going live. I started using the live componentry of the social media platforms. to really make it more interesting. And for me personally to develop as well and to put myself outside of my comfort zone. What? Go live, get in front of camera. Are you kidding me? It's like, I don't do that. But I came to the point where the digital disruption really was noticeable and evident in my store, like especially probably from about 2012 to 2015, there was a big drop off. And then, people just it felt like they became slightly alienated from coming into the boutique because everything was online. They were all moving online, shopping. So that was the digital disruption. It took me a little while to get my head around it and understand it. And then all of a sudden it was really evident and noticeable that, hey, there's a social media out there. I don't really know how to do it. I was probably a bit scared of it. But then I really put myself out of my comfort zone, started using the live components on social media, and then noticed the big change, which was great. Yeah.
And so what you're saying is you pivoted before 2020 when there was a need to pivot.
I sure did. Yeah, I sure did. It's like, look, Janeen, I was having $25 days, 2019. And I had a competitor open up across the road who's got a franchise. They've got about 12 shops. So they've got a lot of buying power in their pocket, right? So they can come in with lots of product and make it really cheap and go on sale. And Vitamin Bead, I actually have, one thing that we don't do is we don't go on sale. We do not discount. I just think it's businesses do themselves a disservice if they discount their products. So I was standing there at the window looking. It was pouring down with rain. It was winter. We're in Tea Garden, so there was just no customers around because it's a very regional area, and you've got tourists or you don't have tourists. Mm-hmm. But any customers that were around were going straight to my competitor across the road, and I'm just like, I had no one in my store, and I just I had this feeling inside of me, I've just got to do something. I just had to do something. And I can remember sitting with my accountant and talking to her, and she's showing me all these Instagram profiles. You could do this, you could do that. And I'm looking at them going like, I can't do that. I don't look like that. I was like, really didn't understand it. I didn't really get it. And then I found a live on 5 challenge. And I spent 5 days learning how to go live on Facebook. And then I just kept going live on Facebook and really building that audience up. But it wasn't about going live and just selling things. It was about going live just to even say, hey, look at the day here in Vitamin Bead. Look at Tea Gardens. Come up to Tea Gardens. Come up for a coffee and make sure you drop into Vitamin Bead. So it was learning about using the online space as more of a community, like building a community with people and a conversation, and for them to get to know the people behind the business and the brand. Mm-hmm. Which I really love, because that's what the component of when I started business off, and going to the markets and meeting those people face to face. So it gave people on the online space an opportunity to meet me as such, or meet the people in the shop. And I found that really broke down barriers, that broke down those digital barriers that people had, or the digital disruption. They weren't scared to come into the shop because they had a peek inside the shop via the online space. Yeah.
And yes, and that they would have felt like they know you already.
I've had people come in from Singleton, right, which is like an hour and a half away. Never met them before at all. They walk into the shop, they give me a big hug. Adrienne, and then they walk around the shop. They've never been in the shop before, but they know it. It's like they know it intimately because they've seen it so many times online.
Yeah, and that's what social media does, and that's what a lot of people get wrong with their social media, is they're trying to sell things all the time. But what you're doing is building that relationship with people, aren't you? And that's really exciting. And I think that's something that's so important for people to be paying attention to now, as we've come out of the heavy lockdowns and that was 2020, and moving through this next year, is that we still have to look at doing things possibly different than the way we have done them before. And change can be really scary to people, and being able to just shift the way you do things, that was a clever way to do it. And and also when you started doing lives, you were probably at the beginning of the curve, which means that you've had that opportunity to build those relationships online, where a lot of people, raced out to do it last year when they hadn't done that before, which is still a good idea, but it's being ahead of the curve is always better.
It is, yeah. And when I started seeing the return, a lot of people say to me, look, what's your return on investment? And I say, well, look, everything I do on social media is free. I don't pay for any of it. It's all organic and free. So it's just I've built it into like the everyday running a business. And that's what I love about, so many different content ideas, even for a small business owner to take a photo of them as they're opening their store, put it on your story. So it's like every component of what you do in your business is worthwhile. You can create content around that. Things as mundane as unpacking jewelry, you can take you can take a time lapse of it and just put it up, or you can take a video, or you can go live. So you're multitasking and also getting your social media done at the same time. So with me, I believe that the small business owner is the best person to do their own social media and just bring it into your business. So make it an everyday event. Or an everyday task that you do. So I was in a gallery in South Australia just recently, and I was talking to the gallery owner, and she was busy putting things on her website, and her staff was unpacking jewelry. And I said, so, just in the conversation, so how's your social media going? She says, look, I just don't have the time. Every moment of my day is allocated to something, so here she is busy putting things on her website. And I said, oh, okay, well, look, I'm just passing through, but can I leave you with 3 tips of what I could suggest right away you could do? And that means you do your own social media. Your staff here is unpacking jewelry. Have it just set up your phone on a tripod, or even lash it to a water bottle. And you can either hit the live button or just even record the unpacking of the jewelry. Because people follow you, they're going to be interested in what you're getting, what you're doing in store. And it shows it shows the jewelry. You can talk about it. You can bring it to life online. That's one of the favorite thing that I have about the social media, live social media component, is that you can bring it to life online, so people can really see it. They can see the way it moves. For me, it's much more interesting than loading your stuff up on the website and then putting it out to the ethernet and hoping that someone's going to buy it.
Yeah. Look, they're excellent tips, and it's given me a whole lot of. I posted one of my books off to somebody the other day, and I just was checking something on Insta, and she'd popped up the photo on her Instagram page and said, I'm starting to read Janeen's book, and it's absolutely awesome, and had tagged me into that. And I'm thinking, I wrap up each of the books in plain brown paper, and I look after them each time I post them off to somebody. And I thought to myself, I really need to either take a photo or just do a video or a live of me popping that into the post office and sending it off.
Absolutely.
Little things like that. I thought, that's a weekly thing. I could there's somebody buying a couple of books a week, so let's do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's absolutely, because it brings people's attention to what you're doing. They see you putting that tender love and care into your books, wrapping them up, and then posting them off, and then they think about that person who's receiving them, who's bought them, so it's all those components. And just one little simple thing that you do on a weekly basis, you can use that as part of your social media content.
Yes, because you touched on time, and that is, I think, anyone in their own business will usually say they're time poor. And as you said, for that person, it's just jumping on and doing a video, but it is an extra task or an extra job, and fitting that in. And I'm thinking myself, okay, remembering to do it. And I'm going to ask you to elaborate that on the moment, but I just thought, I had somebody in one of my courses about 4 years ago, and she was an Instagram expert. And she said, just post daily. And I thought, I can't post daily. So what I've been doing daily is doing a grateful post. And so I have a lot of things go out that are already scheduled every day, but they tend to be business orientated, but I have a daily post of grateful. Now I am up to 1,585 grateful days, and you go, and on the other level, I go looking for something that I am grateful for today. So I was out doing early morning walk and I saw this beautiful Banksia, and I've popped the photo up on Facebook, but that'll also be my Instagram, grateful for nature. But you don't have time to do it, but I have been doing this for over 3 years, maybe 4 years.
Yes.
Putting a daily post up that takes a few seconds, and people look for it. So yeah, you can make the time, can't you? But you that was just my time story. How do people make the time? And from what you've said, it definitely should be a priority. But it's finding that extra time, isn't it, Adrienne?
Yeah, but that was the point with the shop assistant unpacking jewellery, which is it's a task that it depends on what type of business you're in, but you always unpack something usually if you're a product-based business, or you're making something. So it's just interesting to use that time that you're unpacking or making to actually just pop your phone up and take a video of it, or just do a quick live on it. So the tasks that you're doing anyway are worthwhile talking about, because your audience there are out there and they're watching you because they know, like, and trust you. So learning that it's not always about selling, but it is about involving people in what you're doing, as far as unpacking jewellery, making a gratitude post, a grateful post, opening up your door. That even just says to people, hey, look, there they are, they're open. So, it's like just simply you pause, take a photo, done, So I believe, social media should be able to be done by the small business owner in less than 10 minutes a day.
It is so simple. And I'm a what if learner. So I listen to something and then I start applying everything into also what if. And I'm just even thinking about the podcast interviews. So the podcast interviews go out and they're 45 to an hour long, and some people have that opportunity to listen to the podcasts and other people don't. And I always take a photograph of, especially now that we're doing them on Zoom. So I've got a photograph because they're not just listening podcasts, they also go on my YouTube channel. But I'm thinking now, as you're saying this, while, when we wrap up the podcast, I can take a little snippet, a video snippet for a minute, talking about it, rather than just a photograph, which is a lot more engaging than just a photo saying, hey, I was interviewing this amazing lady today that's got some great ideas on how to grow your business. It's very simple, for 10 minutes a day. But to do a video of it. So if I get distracted while we're interviewing, it's because I'm thinking, well, what if I can do? But this is what I want the listeners to be doing exactly the same thing, is thinking about, okay, how can I apply that 10 minutes a day to increase their business. Adrienne, as I said, I'm just got all this going through my head, and I want other people and other listeners to be exactly the same, thinking about how they can apply this. But it's scary. People are going to make a judgment call on you, and you're inviting people to have opinions on what you're presenting. How do we get over that?
Well, when I first started off, I took my phone out for a walk in the bush. And I started recording myself as I was walking through the bush. And then I turned the video on, I turned the camera around, and I started videoing myself. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I got a bit of a fright. That was really scary. Is that what people see when they come into the shop? So that helped me change and just become confident about speaking. It was really interesting. It did really push me out of my comfort zone. But I've come to the point where I think I need to get out of my comfort zone in order to develop, personally develop and move forward. And especially in this online space, in this day and age, it is about being able to change and be adaptable, and to really push yourself outside of your comfort zone a bit. So I really did have to get myself in front of camera. That was a challenge, and I understand where everyone will be thinking, like, I never get in front of camera. And you don't actually have to, if you don't want to get in front of camera, but just to use the live video aspect of social media, because the algorithm loves the live aspect of it. It just sort of pushes you up in the algorithm a bit. And then I got more confident because it started bringing people across my doorstep. Like they would beeline in the next day. Like I talk about something, say like these beautiful silk tops, and you'd see them come straight in, even if they didn't mention they'd seen it on Facebook, but they would say, they would just go straight to the silk tops and try them on. And you kind of knew that they had seen them on Facebook. And then, people stop me in the street now and go, I love your videos, by the way. I always watch your videos.
How good is that?
And it's funny because, like, we all know, well, I don't know, but there is a statistic online that 80% of people will watch your videos or see your social media posts without even giving a thumbs up.
Right.
So there's a lot of people out there who just watch and look and see, and they won't even give you a thumbs up, and they won't even make a comment. So, yeah, it's the reach of what I do online, which is all organic and free, is quite amazing. And I really liken it to the ripple effect, so you just pop it out there and then you can share it out to your community groups, and then the ripple effect goes hundreds of kilometres. Like I had people coming up from Sydney who have seen something on Facebook, and then from the Hunter Valley and from Port Macquarie, and they come it brings them into the shop. So once I realised this was how I was going to break through my $25 days, and I'm not going to go out of business because of what I'm doing here, I got over myself and I got in front of camera, and there you go. Yeah,
that is a great inspiration when you seeing the results from it. It's quite amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think if anything we do when we're seeing results, it keeps us a lot more motivated to continue doing it, because there's extra money coming in. That's always a benefit. Where are you? I thought you said Tea Gardens. Is that
Tea Gardens? Yes, we're just 60 kilometres north of Newcastle.
Okay.
And just like once you're on the end of the freeway of Sydney, you're about 2.5 hours from Sydney. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah, I thought you were saying, and that's the name of the town.
Tea Gardens, yes.
Isn't that that is really sweet. I imagine I've driven through it at some stage, driving down the Coast Highway, or seen a sign for it heading off somewhere. But
yes, it's just a little. It's just like 9 minutes off the main freeway, and you get to Tea Gardens, and then there's a little singing bridge, and there's Hawk's Nest. So it's like the twin towns of Hawk's Nest and Tea Gardens. Yeah. So it's a beautiful beachside area. It's very low lying, and it's not really overbuilt or built up, which is very nice about it. Beautiful beaches and nice cafes, and of course, nice Vitamin Bead boutique to come and visit.
Absolutely. And just a little bit off track, but I think it's really relevant to what you're talking about, is because I know you have an Airbnb in Tea Gardens. That's why I wanted to bring that up. How are you promoting that? Or is that something that is a project now that the boutique's working well?
I know the Airbnb's going really well.
Okay.
So I'm actually in my Airbnb's in North Arm Cove. It's quite a unusual house. My husband and I built it ourselves from the ground up. It's an octagonal pole home.
Oh, okay.
And throughout our travels, we have bought in very unusual pieces of furniture. So I'm here with a four-bedded antique four-posted antique bed. All the doors in the house are from Indonesia, old antique Javanese doors, tribal doors, inlaid mother-of-pearl doors from Lombok. And then we overlook the whole of Port Stephens. So it's quite an unusual house, and 5 bedrooms, so we can sleep 11 people. Beautiful for retreats. We've had 3 generations of families staying here, so that's just a lovely place to make family holiday memories. It's just gorgeous. Yeah,
it's wonderful. You had to add that because I knew it was in a beautiful spot, and it's all part of the whole deal. But it's part of that marketing as well, Adrienne, isn't it? It's. I mean, you pivoted with the social media, but a lot of people are doing what you're doing with the Airbnbs, or creating some other form of business.
Mm-hmm.
Before we wrap up, is there anything that you want to reiterate or ensure that, encouraging other people in their own businesses to look at doing something a little bit different, or anything that you want to share in particular?
Yes, I just want to let businesses out there just think about your social media and what you do on social media. Try and incorporate it in your business like your daily business, because you as the business person are the best person to do your business. You know it the best. You know it inside out. And people like you because they like your business and your products, but they also like you. You're the person behind the brand. And I think it's really important for people to rediscover you again, for instance. Like that's what I think I found with Vitamin Bead. With this digital disruption, they're too busy looking at things online, so they just keep driving past the shop because they maybe maybe forgot who we were, or they just conjure up some sort of imagination or imagery of you that's not true anymore. But when you show up online or in their pocket, because they're not in the shop, they're not in your shop all the time, they get to know you again. They're like, oh, that's them. Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's really cool. I better go and drop into that shop. So it's a great way to reach out to people. It's like that lifeline. And especially with COVID for me didn't feel any different to what it had been the year before, when I had the new rainy days and the competitor across the road. I was just like, there was nobody in my shop. So, and now when I don't have anyone in my shop, I'm like, thank goodness for social media, because it gives me something to do, because I'm a bit of a square, round peg in a square hole. I'm not a fan of you spending all that time and putting things on my website and then having my conversion rate is like 1 or 2% on website conversions. It's just crazy. You do all that work and you don't get any sales. Whereas for me, I do 10 minutes of work on social media. You keep showing up. Even when you're on holiday, you can take little bits of your products away with you on holiday. We just drove to South Australia, and along the way, I was taking photos at mineral baths and at the painted silos, and so you make it fun and part of what you do every day. And then that passion and the fun really shines through, and people are going, well, you're not just selling it to me. You're not just throwing it in their face and go, buy this, buy this, buy this. It's like bringing them along on the journey with you, and then especially if you're making things, it's really exciting to be able to show people, hey, look, this is how I make it. So they really understand, and it helps you put the price up, not put the price down.
Yes, yeah, that's important. That's really important for that, because it sees the true value in something that is really. My brain's just spinning out of the things that I can be applying this to a lot more. Adrienne, it's such a, we've all been told we need to be doing this for so long, but not doing it.
Yes.
Or doing it badly. I have to say, what turned me off lives was seeing it done badly, where someone would just rabbit on about something for 5 minutes and you're going, I don't see any point at that. I think that's part of a little bit that holds people back. It certainly has held me back, going, well, I'm not interested in that. So, but just having, I love the idea of just doing something. I'm going away shortly, and I take my laptop. And the thing is, you only need your phone. You only just need your phone to do it. But whenever I'm going camping or on holidays, I always take my laptop and I do a little bit of work. But just even being able to video that, and $20 for a tripod to hold it on while you're doing it is certainly.
And my one advice when you do get a tripod, get one with a Bluetooth remote control. So this is like my very best friend. When I'm out the back of my shop and I have like a makeshift studio, so there's nothing fancy. I might have a couple of mics just so to get rid of the the noise, the car noise, and then I have my tripod with my Bluetooth here, so I can take my own photos. It's the worst thing having to have someone standing there taking photos of you when you're doing all these things, but that's great. So get a tripod with a Bluetooth remote, and you can do your own photographs. That's really cool.
Great idea. I know a friend of mine is a naturopath, and she started putting videos on YouTube. I'm not sure whether you have a YouTube channel, and running through her things. And she's ended up with over 10,000 followers. But people used to say, "Oh, your videos are rubbish," and she said, "Yeah, I know." So she got better at it, but she's she's up way over that now. I think she's up in nearly the hundreds of thousands.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
because, and it didn't matter to start with the videos. It was the information she was giving, or how she was, what she was delivering. And I think that's the important part. That's a bit different, but it's still that engagement, getting
That's right.
engagement. Yeah.
And it's just starting like this, it's like, yeah, there's like, it's not, what is perfect? There's no such thing as perfection, really. I think when I go live, and when I started going live, people just were really excited to see me. My daughters were proud of me. That was the other thing, which was really funny. So here they were, 17 and 19 years old. And I was always like, come on, girls, you're gorgeous. Can you put the clothes on? I'll take photos of you. But that didn't really work, because they're not my target market either. They weren't the right audience. And then when I started doing that, they were like, "Oh, so proud of you, Mum."
That's awesome. So what's the Facebook page so people can find you?
So it's Vitamin Bead, Facebook/Vitamin Bead.
Yes.
And then also Adrienne J. Frances is my Facebook coaching page. Okay. And that's where I use a lot of the material that I have done in my store, or my manager does as well, because I've trained my manager up to do the social media too. Mm-hmm. And then I'll go on the coaching page and just talk about why I've done it like that, or how I've done it, so people can pick up a lot of tips as well.
Yeah.
But I have a 30-minute free call, so if people would love to, I'd love to talk to anyone who would like to discuss how they could use some of these tips in their social media journey. So it's a free 30-minute call, and I promise you that you'll come away with at least one thing that you can implement and action on straight away.
No, yeah. That's absolutely brilliant, and the link to that call will be in the program notes, so you'll be able to just click on that. Thank you so much for your time and your expertise, and I do have to get to Tea Gardens one day when we can all just jump in a car and drive wherever we like in Australia without fear of crossing borders.
Yes. Well, I'll have to let you know when we have one of our marketing retreats down here, Janeen, and I'll have to invite you along to it.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I've read even a few novels that have been based around Port Stephens and that area, but I've never been in there, so that's definitely a do. So it's adriennejfrances.com is the website, and it is Vitamin Bead, the Facebook page.
Yes.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for your time today, Adrienne.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Janeen.
You're most welcome. And that's another episode of the We Are Women podcast. Remember, you can leave a 5-star review, which would be really greatly appreciated. And also, if you are not sure about how you're going in your business and any help that you need in business, or just getting started, either I can assist you or I can recommend somebody who can, somebody that I've interviewed on the podcast and might be that expert for you. So remember to go to janeenvosper.com and book in for a free discovery call. There's little things that we don't have to be doing ourselves. There's so many experts out there that can help, and I'd really love to help you. I look forward to you joining me on the next episode of the We Are Women podcast. Bye for now.
So, do you feel stuck in a rut in business? Visit speechperfect.com.au and download Janeen's free ebook to avoid the 5 most common stumbling blocks women face in business. It's jam-packed, full of tips to overcome the barriers that could be holding you back from the success that you dream your business will be. We would love you to leave a review of today's episode and share this podcast with other women in need of entrepreneurial inspiration. Subscribe to the next episode now and join the We Are Women community.